Welcome back. So now it's time to turn our attention to another subject matter, an entire departure from politics. Now, speaking from experience, the journey to motherhood, even when it is not aided, is an all-encompassing and consuming one. And then when a mother now has to resort to a process of assisted reproductive health, then it becomes twice the emotional journey. So how do we guide vulnerable, expectant mothers through the process of surrogacy? Joining us to have this conversation, we have Mrs. Olaronke Thaddeus. She's the founder, Meet Surrogate Mothers Agency, Lagos. We also have joining us Dr. Joel Akonde, fertility specialist, medico-legal consultant, that's a new one, CEO of the Fertility and Gynecology Center. They are here with us in our Lagos studios. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lady and gentleman.
Thank you.
So ladies first, naturally. Mrs. Thaddeus, I'd like you to, since you're the one that comes in contact with this intending mothers regularly, help us appreciate that mental journey, what the emotions that these women go through, the challenges of infertility that make them resort to surrogacy, before we begin to look at all those regulations and the knowledge that they need to get before they embrace that option.
Okay. Surrogacy, I think I should start by defining what surrogacy is. Surrogacy is when another woman helps you to carry your pregnancy. Truly, there are medical issues that could arise for a woman to decide to embark on using a surrogate mother to have a baby. First on the list is if a woman has had her womb removed, maybe due to one reason or the other, there is no womb again, and she desires to have more children, or she has not even had any, then she will need to consider using a surrogate mother. Also, there are women that have they have done series of fibroid surgeries that has caused them to have scars on the lining of their uterus. This would make implantation or getting pregnant very difficult. So this set of women, usually would also think about exploring surrogacy as an option. There are also other women, they've had series of miscarriages, they're just tired of, trying again. These usually have emotional tolls on them, So this set of women also, sometimes you find them considering using a surrogate mother. Then some women also have conditions that pregnancy could complicate, like maybe cancer. Some are about to undergo chemo, some already have their egg freezed somewhere, and this set of women would want to use a surrogate mother so that pregnancy would not further complicate their medical issues. There are a lot of women that are also, they have kidney issues. They are also on this same, condition or platform to use a surrogate mother to have their babies. Some other women are very old, and by the law, the fertility law, usually I think 52 once you're 52 and above, yeah, and you still want to have your baby, then you might need to consider using a surrogate mother.
So let me come to you, Doctor, on this particular. In addition to what she said, does things like phobia for pregnancy, because there are people that are just afraid of pregnancy because maybe somebody died in the process, that phobia eats them up on one hand, and then just the method aesthetic reasons, like they don't want to alter their body shape. Does it also follow through when it comes to the issue of surrogacy? Is this something that doctors consider and say is a valid reason for you to, go through this process?
Thank you for having us this morning on this program. The age limit, let me address that. Of course, it's not set in concrete that it has to be 52. We're still battling with, which I hope we'll come to later on, with what is the limit here in natural world. And in law, what are we supposed to do? 52 has been an arbitrary figure, which the Fertility Society in Nigeria is trying to also make sure that it's a safe limit for women to get pregnant or to have their embryos transferred to them. There are people who have unfortunately suffered incredibly from pregnancy-related disorders and adversities, and they may not necessarily want to go through another pregnancy. But that is not to say, in my experience, and especially in our settings here, in our cultural settings, a lot of women, there are two issues here. A lot of women will want first to want to have a baby of their own, but in addition, they want to be seen to be pregnant, and that, well, God has removed this shame from me, the world, look at me, I'm pregnant, and I'm capable of being pregnant. So those are conflicts, even in the presence of medical difficulties, that, you cannot possibly carry this pregnancy. They will push, and they do want to push us to the limit in which I will try. So there are some, on one hand, who may be afraid, but that is not very common. A lot of women want to be pregnant and want to be seen to be pregnant.
Okay, I will add.
Right, you can go ahead. Yeah, you can add to that.
Getting pregnant, doctor will say you have to be physically and emotionally ready to get pregnant. If someone, for instance, has identified herself and she thinks she's not psychologically ready to carry pregnancy, that could endanger her or the pregnancy in the process. I won't say no to that kind of person. To carry pregnancy, you need to be psychologically and physically healthy and ready.
So you've talked about a lot of things, but I think one of the major reasons is infertility, and then the others come in naturally, the medical conditions, the age, and the rest. But let's now bring it to Nigeria, because we have our culture that defines a lot of things. We have our religion that defines a lot of things. And yes, absolutely, it's what makes us, our culture and religion. That's who we are. It's ingrained in us. So you have been in this practice for decades. It's interesting. You're not just a doctor, you're a lawyer. I understand you even did some architecture.
Yes, that's right.
There you go. Maybe we'll talk about the architectural makeup of this later. But in the context of Nigeria, just how prevalent is or how do people view surrogacy and all of the things attached to it? Some see it as baby factory, for example. They see surrogacy as just glorified baby factory. I don't know if you've come across that. But I'd like you to speak to the cultural context we're in Nigeria, just how, we'll talk about the laws, as we said, but how accepted, what do people view it as, and what should people see it as? Really, I'll start with you, so then come to
just a little bit of correction. I don't practice law.
Yeah.
I read law, but I'm not into law practice.
Yeah.
Just to make that comment. Now, we have to see the intensity of infertility damage, the injuries psychologically, the shame, and the pain, especially for women. It is a very burdensome experience, and women especially goes about wanting to cure, wanting to have that body removed from their shoulders. In my experience, I've been practicing medicine now plus 30 years, and I have seen that they will go anywhere, they will do anything, even when the men have said, no, you are bothering me, I don't want any more. They will still persist, they will persevere, they are determined to see it through. Now, so we have to give it to the women and, appreciate their endurance. Now, the cultural element is the fact that there are a lot of conflicts, in the sense that a lot of religions, particularly across the world and in particular Nigeria, frowns at surrogacies. I will not mention names of any particular region, but nevertheless, they look at surrogacy as an evil thing. It's not good, you should not do it. But you have to look as a clinician at the balance of the need of individuals, of these women, and wanting to have balance in their families that fulfill their aspirations to be a woman, to be able to fulfill their biological needs. So if we set that apart, you have a situation whereby surrogacy might be not allowed in religion, but culturally, at the subliminal level, a lot of people have come to accept that it's become part of our life now, that if you want to get fulfilled, you have got to go through those roads. We have seen the reasons, my colleague had enumerated in details the reasons why these things happen. And we have to culturally, and indeed had been culturally accepted, even within the religious, all this, when it comes to clinical settings, this religion is set aside.
Pardon me, I just realized that, you are not just doing this, you are frontal about it. I don't know if people see you as baby factory per se.
No.
How do people approach it? Because this is a new jurisprudence, if I can say. It's a new area, particularly here in Nigeria. It's not something you hear a lot. So what kind of reactions you get from people, really? Because surrogate, people are like, no, I don't want to go there, but you are going there.
Yeah, I've been in the surrogacy industry for over a decade now.
Wow.
And initially the reception was bad, but presently, as I'm speaking to you, we have parents all over the world coming to explore the option of surrogacy. And I must tell you that it is not being considered as baby factory. There is a whole lot, in fact, you cannot even, you should not even compare it to baby factory. Baby factory is evil. Stealing of babies, of, somebody's daughter, locking them up. This has nothing to do with surrogacy. Surrogacy is practiced ethically and medically. The eggs of the intending parents and the sperm of the intending father, have fertilized in the IVF lab, and the IVF doctors, they are experts in this field, So the said embryos are generated, and these embryos are transferred into the surrogate mothers. The surrogate mothers, they are not genetically related to the baby she's carrying. We are not also infringing the rights of the surrogate mother, because she's free to do whatever she wants to do. The fact that she's carrying pregnancy doesn't mean that her life is on the, is on the static for that 9 months period. She can do whatever she wants to do. She is a right, okay? So surrogacy should not be linked to baby factory. They are two different things entirely. And I am a proud advocate of surrogacy, and people don't view me as someone practicing something evil. I've been applauded on this. I've been encouraged. I receive prayers on a daily basis from parents that, my agencies have blessed.
A quick comment on the issue of baby factory. It is very much a shame, really, that it is happening in Nigeria. I've never seen anywhere in the world that this kind of thing is permitted, that you are a genetically different baby, or somebody who you don't even know is giving it to you, and you claim to have been pregnant all over these 9 months, and it can only happen in a place where there's so much lawlessness.
So now that we've dealt with the cultural issues and relating perceptions, perhaps we should look at the legal issues as well. I know that you're saying that it's an option that mothers have to resort to, and you're advocates for it. But what about lawyers who frown at the practice of surrogacy itself in Nigeria, and they quote Section 30? And not all of the sections could seem that, okay, it's just an interpretation, not necessarily an absolute. But perhaps if I could read from it, they say no person shall buy, sell, hire, let on hire, dispose of, or obtain possession of, or otherwise deal in a child. So within the context of surrogacy, it's a woman that is assisting to help to carry. So maybe they're looking at that portion of deal in a child. Now, as practitioners in that space, how do you what disposition do you present to, the legal gray areas to the practice of surrogacy? I'll start with you, sir.
Okay, I see where you are coming from, Section 30 of the Child Act. If you look at it carefully, the Section 30 that you have read, but you didn't read it in full. If you look at the heading properly, it says deal, hire, sell, or whatever, for the purpose, there's a purpose, it ends with a purpose of money making or hawking, for that kind of environment. It did not say, it's not even a medical issue, it's even a social issue, a cultural issue that Section 30 is dealing with. It has nothing whatsoever to deal with medicine or surrogacy whatsoever. It has absolutely nothing. If you look at it from the end of Section 29 to the entire Section 30, it has nothing to do with surrogacy. It's the protection of children from exploitation.
All right, so let's talk about one element that, from experience, I would like you to speak to. I know you said they are not genetically connected, but how do you separate that bonding? Because this woman will carry the child for 9 months or whatever number of months and all of that, and maybe even bet the child and all of that. How do you manage that emotional attachment so that the person doesn't say, I've got a child somewhere?
Okay. A surrogate is a mother herself. Okay, so she has her own kids. She has given birth to her own children.
That's a prerequisite.
Yes.
You must have had children.
Yes.
Not a single person.
Not
somebody who has not given birth.
Not somebody that has not given birth before. Okay. Before you can be a surrogate mother, you would have, or you might have given birth to at least one child. Okay. So because it is always very important to ensure this. Like I normally say jokingly, you don't give what you don't have, okay? Because like you said, it might definitely have a psychological effect on them if they don't have their own kids and they are pregnant and at the end of the day no baby. Yeah. So we at my agency, Meet Surrogate Mothers, they undergo a lot of psychological training and also encourage them. Even after birth, it does not end there. For 6 months, we still keep in touch. They still come around. We still talk to them, okay? Because trust me, it's not easy also for them. But I think our surrogate mothers now, they've grown to that point where they also know and they appreciate the process, that they are just helping another woman, another woman's house. Okay, so their minds are already prepared for this. So,
can I also answer the question that the way it is that the blood of the mother, even though it supplies the food, the nutrients, the air, the oxygen that the baby will need, genetically they are not related. They are distinct individuals. The only thing that the mother is doing is to, one, house the baby, the fetus, and two, nourish the baby until maturity to give birth. They have no relation. If you do the DNA, they have no relationship whatsoever.
Pardon me, I'd like to come from the mother's perspective here, and I'm glad that you're a mother as well. Even though you said that they're not genetically related, there's also a very strong issue of the bond between the carrier, that's the surrogate mother, and the child. And that brings us to the issue of those lack of defined laws and regulations, in that space. What do you do, to prevent issues arising in the future of, surrogate moms coming to lay claims to children? What are the contractual agreements that are signed to protect the identity and the stability of the family of the intending mother who's using a surrogate mom? Perhaps you'd like to read.
Okay. My agency, for instance, practiced anonymous surrogacy, meaning that the surrogate mother and the intended parents do not know each other. So the agency stands in between both of them. So that way, the intended parents feels very safe doing surrogacy, and she knows that after birth, nobody's coming back to come and say, or come and extort money, or so it's just safer that way. And I'm also an advocate of anonymous surrogacy, since there is no legal framework to surrogacy at the moment. Okay, so we do anonymously, and that way,
are there contracts signed?
Yes, there are contracts signed in the beginning of the program.
So there's a legal claimant, right? The legal claimant is the parent.
Well, yes, quite often where these challenges come from is the fact that just like the emotional thing you have mentioned, that you've carried this baby for 9 months, it becomes part of you. There are procedures, clinical steps that we take that they don't come in contact with each other immediately after the birth. Because if you allow the woman to breastfeed, to hug, to hold the baby, you are going to establish emotional bond. Now, on the other hand, in relation to being blackmailed, true, we've had the experiences in which, just like my colleague here said, the important is that you make sure that these parties, the surrogate, do not often relate. However, it has to be said that there are families that, in which case, the sister can be a surrogate to the junior or to the senior, even the mother. Personally, I have not had that in Nigeria, but across the world, it is possible that a sister, a mother, can carry for the daughter. It is still a surrogacy. Now, the emotional issue is kept within the family, but when there are distances between the two parties, it is important that the relationship is minimized as much as possible.
On a final note, so this, at the heart of it, there's IVF involved,
yes,
right, and then there's the surrogacy involved, so like your partners in progress. Does it cost as much as maybe 10 million naira to achieve this 15 million? Because this will take 9 months. I mean, people will even ask, what happens to the child once the child is born? The mother would obviously need to breastfeed the child for a certain period, or not, depending again on the contractual agreement. So as maybe a round figure or a target, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. It's obviously not a cheap.
It's not a cheap process. I mean, raising human beings is not cheap in any way or manner. However, I think 10 million is pretty on the higher side. That's pretty.
For the whole process, the IVF and the surrogacy.
Yes, it's much on the higher side.
Do you agree?
I don't agree, because I would not even like to put a fee to it. Surrogacy is priceless, if you ask me. You cannot entirely compensate a surrogate mother. For instance, my contract states that you need to take care of the surrogate mother if there is any medical needs. I've had a surrogate mother that gave birth and landed in ICU. So just imagine if I have penned it and say, oh, it's less than, no.
Okay, so it's a case-by-case basis.
It's a case-by-case.
But do you have to do afterwards? Is there still some sort of payment afterwards? Because
like royalty?
Well, maybe in some sense.
No. It's a contract.
So once 9 months is over,
yeah,
they hand over the baby. Doesn't need to breastfeed.
Interestingly, the intending mom can breastfeed. Forget that she uses surrogate mother.
Let's reduce that lactation for the intending mom.
Yes.
Okay. I know that you say you don't put a price to it, but 5 million?
No, please.
I think the thing is
30 seconds.
Across the various parts of Nigeria, the fees varies. I don't want to call it fees. The word is compensation. The law is very clear when it comes to the medical practitioners. The section 23 of our code of conduct did say that we have to rectify, we have to resolve some of the issues that may arise during the surrogacy period.
And that tells us that this is by no means the end of the conversation. There are definitely areas that we didn't touch. Yeah. I would like to thank you very much for your time on the program. We've been talking with Mrs. Olarunke Thaddeus, founder, Meet Surrogate Mothers Association. And we've also been talking with Dr. Joel Akonde, fertility specialist, medico-legal consultant, CEO, and the Fertility and Gynecology Center, Lagos Studio. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Right.
And up next on the program, we'll switch, of course, to the softer side of things as we come up close with the culture comedy ambassador, Cruise with Joe. Stay with us, we'll be right back.